Thanks for coming, everybody, and of course, thank you, Tony, for coming. We greatly appreciate it. Tony Oliver is the star of stage and camera before starting into voice acting, correct? And of course,
star part, but yeah.
I try to flatter the rest of my show. Come on. But Robotech, Bleach, Lupin the Third, Gurren Lagann, on and on and on. Also video games like Dynasty Warriors, World of Warcraft, EverQuest, Xenosaga, and helped, I love this one, helped create, write, produce anything else on Mighty Morphin Power Rangers?
I played the voice of Saba.
And the voice of Saba, there we go. So, if you guys are big fans or the other way around, he's probably your guy to blame. So, we got, looks like we have a couple late arrivals.
No, that's Larry.
That's Larry. Larry's fine. So we'll go ahead and open it up to the floor, folks.
Thank you very much.
Gentleman in the green hair.
Hi there. I'm a huge fan of Blaze Blue.
Thanks.
I was wondering, how fun was it to do the voice of Bang Shishigami? And I was wondering, did you leave the game on your own accord, or was it a contractual issue?
No, it was a lot of fun. I had no idea what I was getting into. I was literally directing in the studio next door, and I walked out, and they told me that they had a part for me in this game, and I walked out of one door down the hall, walked into another, and I had no idea what we were doing, and we were moving very quickly, which means we were doing what's called we were running the page, which means you just do one take of every line, just one after another, just all your lines down the page, and at the very bottom of the page, the last line on the page was. And remember, I've gotten to the point in my life where the words go into my eyes, come out of my mouth. I really don't think about it. It's just kind of, and I get to the bottom of the thing and it says, "We're going to have a bang spanking good time." Did I just actually say that? What? And so that's when I knew it was a little weird. And then we talked about it, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. I left for a number of reasons. It had to do with some business issues that I really don't want to discuss, but I made the choice to walk away from the show, and a good friend of mine got the part, so I'm really happy with that. So, yeah.
One door closes, another one opens, right?
Yep.
Gentleman in the front.
Hello, Tony.
Hi.
I have a question. What was it like working on K-On? You directed it.
Yeah, I directed K-On. K-On was my guilty pleasure. He's one of those shows where, because it's it's supposed to be a girl show and all that stuff, but I just loved it. I love the fact, to me, it's the Seinfeld of anime, because it's really not about anything specific. It's just about these 5 girls and their relationships and stuff. It was a lot of fun. One of the reasons I was picked for it is because I have a background in music. I started as a musician. I started in musicals and things like that. And I'm a vocal director, and so we were going to be, we got to sing some of the songs, so they brought me in because I know how to do that too. And they gave me a great cast. It was a lot of fun. I was really sorry to see it go when we were finished with it, because it was one of those things like, I wish I could come in and just work on this every day for the rest of my career. So I loved it, and I loved the ladies who played all the parts.
Got some late arrivals here, so we'll have them sneak by and
Sure.
not dump Tony's water on them, so watch out for the table. Let you guys get settled, and, well, I can't say no to Spider-Man, so we'll go ahead and let him ask the next question. Go ahead.
You can't say no.
Spider-Man?
Good enough. Sounds like you were very involved in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So, what aspect of that job did you like the most?
That's a hard question. It's not specific. At that point in my life, I had not worked on a live-action television series before. I had never written a live-action television series before. And what was the most fun and the most frightening and the most challenging was the fact that I was given instructions on what kind of show they wanted. Here's the footage. Here's what we want to do with it. Go. So I had the process of coming up with how to make that show, because it wasn't just I had to make this kind of a show, but we had to make it in a different way. So the craft of making it was different because of how it is, and figuring that out was a lot of challenge. The most fun I ever had was on the day that we took the Power Rangers to Universal Studios and the Universal Amphitheater. We were supposed to have a press thing and then a few little performances for the kids as we were announcing that they were going to be on DARE. They were going to be the DARE ambassadors. And the last day, I was rehearsing, and they had a little theater there called the Fievel Theater, held at maybe 1,000 people tops. And I had pyro, I had Austin zip-lining in over the audience, I had all that stuff. And when we were done, I get a phone call from the management at Universal Studios going, "Can you come to our offices?" So I went to the office and said, we've just counted, we've had about 25,000 phone calls so far, so we're going to move you into the Universal Amphitheater. That holds 6,700 people. which meant I had to go back in the morning and at 5 o'clock in the morning and restage the entire show. Restage all the pyrotechnics, have the fire department sign off on it, all of that stuff. So I arrived at about 5 o'clock along with the rest of these poor actors. I would show up at 5:30 and do stunts, rehearse stunts, you know. There was already 1,000 people in line. And at 10 a.m., they reached capacity. I had to shut the park down. And 50,000 people showed up that day. And they had to, and I was in the hallway when they told the president of Universal was back there having an argument with my boss over water. It's funny. And the guy says, the CHP, California Highway Patrol, just closed down the freeway off-ramps to this area because it's backed up to downtown LA, which is about 15 miles away. So and then so once the show went up, and I was sitting in the tech booth with the technicians, which is right in the middle of the amphitheater. It wasn't up in the back. So there's people all around me, and when they came out, and especially when Tommy came out, this girl stands up right near me and she yells, "Tommy!" It was like the Beatles, "Tommy!" And she's crying. That had to be probably the most impactful moment in my career, because I could actually see the effect of what we did in bold, I mean, in so obvious form. And so that's maybe my funnest thing. I don't think I've ever told that whole story.
Gentleman in the third row.
How did you first move into directing from voice acting?
Fear of eviction. No, I need to make money. I'd always wanted to. It was a matter of necessity. I had started as a voice actor, and then my wife wanted to be an ADR writer. She wanted to write, but she didn't have any ADR experience, but I did. So we wrote as a team. So I got a guy named Tom Weiner to give us a script, a trial, and we were able to do it. And eventually she had to move on to other things, but I continued. So that writing eventually led me to be hired as a story supervisor at Saban Entertainment. I had worked in local television before that and had produced a little show locally, and I found out I really liked producing. I'd never done it before, but wow, this is cool. It was a little local show in Bakersfield. And so when I got there, I was there as a writer, and I started working my way up as a producer, and as a writer-producer, and then an opportunity to direct came up because somebody called in sick on a show I was doing, and so I jumped in and directed and found I had a bit of an affinity for that. So it's kind of, usually you go actor, director, producer, but I went actor, writer, producer, director. And I'm kind of glad I did, because as a director, it makes me a better director because I understand the logistics of what's around me as well as what's in front of me. At least I hope it makes me a better director. So that's how I got in. It was purely by that. The way to get into show business is you get in the door any way you can. Go sweep floors, go answer phones, and once you're inside, then you find your path and you struggle to get to it. And it's like swimming upstream like a salmon. But you do that, and that's how you do it. And you say yes to every opportunity, even if you're not sure you can do it. I would come home from day. I said to my wife, "Oh, I'm going to be co-directing a feature film, live action feature, $4 million budget or $2 million budget. Says, do you know how to do that? We'll find out, won't we?"
I'm sure someone will tell me.
Yeah.
All right.
They hire. You know you're doing it right when they hire you the second time.
Actually, we'll go here. I haven't asked a question.
Is there any piece of advice you would want to give someone who's interested in going into writing or directing for film?
Yeah, get educated. Keep going to school, and I know that sounds, because you don't need it, but any art form, any sport, any skill that requires practice, and what you get in college is the opportunity to do it again and again, and write horrible things that you don't want anybody to see, but it's not ruining your career because it's still part of your learning process. So if you want to be a writer, you write every day, whether you feel like it or not. You know, if you're not doing it professionally, then okay, I'm going to write for 1.5 hours every single day, and even if nothing comes out, just sit at the keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
This is something I got from a famous author, by the way. In terms of directing, that comes with time. That comes when you start to really truly understand how to tell a story outside the words. You start by writing. Take a little bit of acting classes. I know you don't want to be an actor, but it'll teach you how the actor thinks so that you can write for them and then eventually direct them. Because you have to speak to actors in a particular way. You have to use emotional words to speak to actors. You can't say, "I want you to sound like this." The real direction is, "I want you to make me feel like that," or "I want you to feel this way," and that's the difference. And you learn that by writing and then doing a little acting, and then that'll take you to directing.
Okay.
But go to school. Do it there. It's safer and cheaper than trying to go out in LA and knock it out of the park right off the bat, because it's really hard.
One second, got some. You're just so irresistible. that-
Well, jeez.
Gotta have a few more sneak in here. Gentlemen, ready?
Irresistible. Irresistible.
Okay, gentlemen.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he's noticeable. I didn't. Yeah. All right, looks like everybody's out of everybody's way. Gentleman in the back had a question.
You mentioned your most positive impact that your career has had on a person. Do you have a negative one?
Depends on your definition. I don't think so. Not that I'm aware of, unless you call. I have been inspired to jump in and be in show business. Maybe a negative. It's not an easy business to be in. No, I don't think so. I mean, I hope not. You know, maybe on Power Rangers, maybe some kids hit each other. You know what I'm saying? It's like I don't know. I'm not aware of if I am, and I certainly try not to.
How about moments for you where you've maybe come home and been like, am I doing the right thing in my life, or should I like venture off into something else?
That happens when I'm at home and haven't been to the studio for a while.
Okay.
It's like, maybe, did somebody finally figure out I'm not talented, and now they're not going to hire me anymore? Actors are remarkably insecure people. I think this is why we do it. To me, it's a coping mechanism to learn how not to be. I'm a shy person, believe it or not. If I'm not in a situation, I'm invited here, I'm wanted here, people are here to ask, so I feel very comfortable, and I'm used to being on stage and all that stuff. But you put me in a party with 25 people, I don't know, I'm a wallflower. So, I don't know why I brought that up, but I lost my train of thought. But we're all insecure, and so therefore we do a lot of different things to compensate, and part of it is acting. And I hope that answered the question. I'm not sure if it did.
Is there any shows that you wanted to be a part of and voice actors that you've wanted to work with before? And like, which one did you really want to work with really bad?
Well, it's not a did you, because I'm still in the business, so I still got a lot of time left. So there are some people I would like to work with. I would like to work with some of the big boys. I'd like to work with Tom McKinney. I'd like to work with Billy West. I'd like to be in sessions either as a director or as a voice actor, where I get to be in their presence and learn from them. When I work in original animation and I'm in a room with a bunch of other actors who are more experienced or better or have a different take on things than I do, I learn so much. But yeah, so Billy and those guys. In terms of the show, I auditioned for Cowboy Bebop twice. I actually was brought in to read for Spike. And as I'm reading, I've told the story a million times, as I'm reading the script and preparing for audition, I'm going, I'd hire Steve Bloom for this. Sure enough, he got cast. So Bebop's really kind of my, God, I wish I was in that.
Gentleman back.
Some voice actors don't watch some of the shows that they even audition for, and when they get the part, they just read their lines and they never wind up watching it at all. Do you watch all your roles that you've been in?
I'll watch a piece of it at least. I'm constantly working. Thank God. I'm very lucky. I'm a very lucky person. So I don't have a lot of time to go back and watch. I will check out a performance to make sure I'm happy with what I did, or to learn. Oh God, if I next time I run into that situation, if I make this choice, it'll be better. I've done so many shows. I'm not at that point where one bad performance makes me go, oh God, I suck. Because I have a body of work now that reminds me, no, I don't. I just sucked this time. I have gone back and looked at a few shows, and usually it's years later. It's difficult to get perspective. If I just did the part, I really can't be objective about my performance. It's like it has to be 6 months or a year later. The biggest exception to that has been Fate Zero, and I did that last year. And I fell in love with the show so much that when an Aniplex gave me a box set of the Blu-rays to look at, and I binged watched them over 2 weekends. And I'll probably do that again later this year. It's that good a show to me. So, but I'm not. I directed that one. I'm not actually in it. I have a couple little voices, but that's about it. So.
Follow-up question.
Sure.
Has there been a part where you go back and watch and be like, oh, I wish I would portray the character a little bit differently? Has there been a moment like that in your career?
Every day. Most notably Robotech. I go back and look at what I did on Robotech and I cringe sometimes. Because I'm a better actor now. And I just go, oh God, why did I make that choice? Oh God, I sound like I'm acting. You know, that sort of thing. It's hard to be objective. I do avoid, whenever possible, acting and directing in the same show. Because I find it difficult to be objective of my performance. Either I'm too hard on myself or too easy. I find it difficult to be objective, so I like other people to direct.
The voice of E, you had a question.
How has the anime industry changed from your point of view since the Robotech days?
There's a lot of changes. First of all, back in the day, they called it Japanimation.
Yeah.
So nobody really knew what it was. Technologically, the changes have been enormous, and that's part of it. But in terms of the actors coming into the game, back then, the people that were doing it were people that were primarily working their way up in the business, or it was a side gig. They did a lot of background looping for movies and things like that, because they were the ones with the skill set. There was very few people that did this or knew what it was. Now, everybody coming in the door is an anime fan. All the actors are training with the idea of doing this eventually. When I met Kari Wahlgren, she'd just gotten to Los Angeles from Kansas. And I said, well, what's your goal? She said, I'm here to be a voice actor and I want to do anime first. And so now she does. And now she does every Disney film imaginable. So she's quite good. So that's one change, is the quality of actor coming into the game is much better than it was. There's a much larger pool of actors now because of that. And it's become, in the acting world, a respectable profession, where when I first started this, well, I don't do voice work, I'm a real actor. I used to get that literally from like union people. It's like, really? Try this. This is hard. Technologically is where the big changes have been. When we first started doing it, it was reel-to-reel tape. We're chasing videotape. It took, you'd do a line and you'd have to rewind everything and then do it. It took forever. And then because it was on tape, if the engineer made a mistake and didn't punch in or punch out right, you'd burn another line that was already there. Now you got to call the actor back in to fix it. And it took forever. It took about, I think I was pretty fast, considered pretty fast, and I was doing about 12, 13 lines an hour. That's what we would get done. When all the digital stuff, we lose the videotape, we go to digital. Now on Pro Tools, you don't have to be exact, and nothing's ever destroyed. If you get close, you can expand, grab and move it around, split it up, without changing anything. If you miss punch, it's okay, the track's still there, it doesn't go away. And it sped things up to about 35 to 40 lines an hour, and that's what made the anime, it brought the cost down and made the anime explosion in the 90s possible. So those are the biggest differences, and the fan base is better. The fan base is different. It's better. It's more diverse. It used to be, when I first started, it was the stereotype, the young white male guy sitting in his basement, and now it's every person, every color, every gender, every orientation is welcome, and it's become huge, and really I think the best fandom on the planet, because it's so diverse and open and accepting.
I can tell you, I got mocked a lot for being a Robotech fan back then. Obviously, right here in the years.
I'm not sure if it was asked, but how did you get into the industry?
I always wanted to be an actor, so I started doing little things in, high school and junior high school, and some drama workshops. I took it seriously. I trained, and I started out as a stage actor in LA, which meant no money. There was very little. There's more, but not a lot. And I was desperate. I was looking for work, auditioning for everything I could, and I answered an ad for. They were looking for somebody who sounded like they were younger than 18, but was over 18 because of labor laws. And they had to have ADR experience. ADR is automated dialogue replacement, by the way. It's what we call dubbing. It's the official term for dubbing. And I had to have ADR experience. And I had done a student film where I had dubbed one line on a moviola. So technically I wasn't lying, but I lied. And I told them I had experience. I went and auditioned. I got a little part in a Louis Malle film doing backgrounds. And have you ever seen a Louis Malle film? Don't. You want to hang yourself when you're done. They're so depressing. But they liked what I did, and they pulled me into another room and auditioned me for this feature, which was an anime feature called The Sea Prince and the Fire Child. And silly people cast me in the lead, and because they thought I had experience. And so I went in a couple of days. I went a couple hours early on recording, and I watched somebody else work to get this sense. And I had a friend who was an ADR supervisor at Lorimar, and she showed me how to read the script before I got to the studio, because the scripts look different. They're time coded. They're formatted in a different way. And I was lucky enough to get a part that I could actually play, and it ended up on television, which was very rare back then, and that's what led to Robotech. So that's kind of how I got in, but I've always been a performer since I was a kid, so, much to my parents' chagrin.
Another question? Green here?
You said that you watch a couple of the shows that you worked on. Have you ever actually played any of the video games that you've directed or?
I've tried. I suck at games. I tried to play Battlecry, the Robotech game, and I couldn't get past the 4th level. And my character didn't appear till like the 12th level, so I never got to see that. I've tried to play a little bit of Dynasty Warriors. I'm just not good at it. So yeah, I've attempted to play. For a while I was one of the directors for League of Legends, and so I tried that. And I really suck at that. So I'll pop it in, but generally if somebody gives me a game, it doesn't happen very often, but sometimes they'll give you a copy of the game you worked at. That's great. I give it to my kids.
Fortunately, we got time for one more question. I believe this guy's.
Well, that was quick.
Yeah.
Well, what was it like working on Dynasty Warriors?
Dynasty Warriors, it's been a great gig. I mean, I was brought in to do, I actually played Ma Chao in the first one. And then they changed the characters so somebody else played it. It was fantastic because I got in, I was fairly new to video games at the time. And it's turned into like a 6 or 8 year gig for me. Every year they call me, they bring me in for a few days, and I do a bunch of updates. And then my characters have all changed, but then a couple of other actors retired, and I can do sound-alikes. So that's how I ended up with doing Lu Meng and Shi Hao Yuan. Somebody else started it, but I took it over. And it's just been great. In fact, they're a little overdue calling me back. I'm waiting to see they're going to do another update here soon. It's fantastic. It's really hard on the voice, though. They're 2 to 4 hour sessions, usually 2 to 3 hour sessions, and the voices are very difficult. And we do a lot of dialogue. So when you're doing a video game, I was talking about doing 30 to 40 loops an hour in anime. Typical video game on the Japanese RPG, not the big EA games, but the smaller ones. We typically have to do about 100 lines an hour in order to maintain. So you don't have time to rest. It's one line after another, after another, after another, after another. And so it is difficult, and I tend to lose my voice on that one. But it's a good one.
I imagine with a game like Dynasty Warriors, the battle combat noises.
We
are
did the
always
battle
fun.
combat noises. They're still using the ones we recorded years ago.
Oh,
Yeah.
makes it way easier.
Occasionally we'll have we need another half dozen of these occasionally, but they reuse what we've already
Much
recorded.
easier.
Because it's hard on the throat, and they don't want to hurt us either.
All right, folks, please join me in thanking Tony for being here.